Hello there, YouTube. This is the Handsome Crayon, and I'm back again with another fan fiction reading. So, without further ado, let's begin. This is Graphs by Mozzarella, Chapter 7. Time's up. Quote, they dash astride of a rainbow. The light gleams an instant. Then it's awesome once more. On! End quote. Rainbow Blitz didn't remember falling asleep, nor did he remember waking up, though he paid special attention to what happened before and afterward. Whatever rest the two Pegasi had gotten must have been enough to abate their violent, tossing affection into a much more calm and relaxed embrace. The passion remained unaffected, however. Blitz's head remained covered by dashes, enforcing the mayor's comment regarding submissiveness the previous night. Although the tables may very well have turned several times over earlier, if either party had been interested in the slightest about relative height. Priorities, you know. Dash retreated from Blitz's mouth back to the crook of his neck, giving them both what seemed to be their only break in quite a while. They donned self-satisfied smirks as they panted, never once releasing their hold on each other. When their breaths evened off with a sigh, the stallion was the first to speak up. Damn, he breathed, adjusting his grip ever so slightly. Same, said Dash, twisting onto her side, pressing her nose up against his chin. His quickened breath fed into her smug smile. I always knew I'd be a stud, she said casually. Blitz frowned, puzzled. Huh? As a stallion, I mean. Did you really? He asked skeptically, though he may have only been fishing for unneeded praise. His ego, among other parts, did not need any more stroking. Dash shrugged. Probably. I mean, every pony thinks about it at some point. Maybe. The answer was sufficient for the stallion. He laid his head back onto the cloud. Well, what did you expect? I mean, all your sexiness had to go somewhere when I was made, right? Never thought about it like that. That's why they pay me the big bits. Dash snorted. I know your salary. They're hardly paying you anything. Darn, he said with feigned disappointment. He leaned into her ear, giving it a nuzzle. Any chance I could get some pony to change that? I would be very thankful. His teeth closed gently around the tip of her ear. She brought a hoof to her chin in a pondering gesture, seemingly unprotruded at the stallion's advances. I would, but I don't see anything extra in the budget. Sorry. She didn't seem all that sorry. Fine, he sighed. He proceeded to place her head back under his chin and resting his back on the cloud. There was an unexpected problem with sky naps. A pony on the ground would be given a soothing image of lazy clouds drifting by, partially obscuring the shining sun against the backdrop of empty blue. A high-altitude Pegasus had no such luck. Sure, the sky wasn't going anywhere, and neither was the sun, but it just wasn't quite the same without the kinetic element. Your eyes get all screwed up if you try looking directly at the celium void, lacking any point of focus and whatnot. There was also a lack of anything to block unfiltered light from drilling into your eyes. Ground ponies and balloons think the sight is beautiful. To jaded Pegasi, it loses its charm very quickly. Of course, not all jaded Pegasi sleep with companions. To Blitz, there was no need to open his eyes. What use was there in scanning the surrounding when the dominant focus of one's life was wrapped in your hooves? Why worry oneself with distance and complicated when bliss was so oblivious and convenient within one's reach? Close, warm, peaceful, gurgle. What? Dude, is that you? Blitz sighed angrily. Yeah. He brought a hoof to his face and shook his head. I thought we were having a moment or something, but apparently my stomach says I'm hungry. Dash chuckled. Real smooth, dude. She rolled off of him and pushed herself to her hooves, releasing a few reluctant groans. Alright, let's eat. But we should probably check on the weather at home first. You won't be making any big bits if you get fired. Fine. He lethargically stood up, creating several loud cracks when he stretched. While his back arched towards the ground, a familiar weight descended upon him, nearly sending him back onto his stomach. He gasped and looked at the only possible culprit with indignation. She made no apologetic gestures. What? You're carrying the bag. She walked up to his side and prodded the load. It should be getting lighter now, anyway. Oh, geez, that makes it so much better. He took a look at the imposing mountain between him and civilization inside. Let's get going. That's the spirit. Dash burst into a gallop and leaped off the cloud. Try to keep up, dude, she called back, already beginning her ascent. Hey, wait a sec. Oh! He winced as the wind caught on the tight straps. Frickin' bag. Wait up! He clumsily followed, the sound of unrestrained snickering towards the mountain. The clerk at the office had been overjoyed to see some pony showed up, let alone some pony asking for service. She worked tirelessly to ensure that her products were spotless for the public to see when it was finally in use. Free advertising was always a good thing. Not that many ponies want to rent hot air balloons nowadays. Twilight caused a bit of spectacle trotting casualty through town, holding a rather cumbersome dirigible in a bright purple glowing glow, with apparent effort on her part. The magical heavy hitter could handle herself against the vehicle meant to be lighter than air. It was out of her league. Next to the library sat 4 wooden spikes, driven into the ground in an even square formation. The balloon's ropes reached them perfectly when the basket was placed in a square center. The order brought a smile to the unicorn's face as she secured the ties. She enjoyed the order. With the balloons secure, she lifted a hoof to the air, and checked the wind. The air current at a higher altitude could be better measured by visual examination of the clouds, but there were none to be seen within a proper skyline of sight. She could recall seeing one small tuft on her way to pick up the balloon. That's not partially cloudy, Twilight muttered. She went over to the criteria of Ponyville's weather status on her way back inside. Partially cloudy. Consistent at least 15% of the sky being obscured by clouds. It would have been generous to call this 1%. That shine The sunshine being left unabated through the afternoon could wreak havoc on Ponyville agriculture. All it would take was one day of her leadership in the weather patrol, and the whole outfit would straighten right out. What? The unicorn bleated out right before her face became askewed in the dirt outside her front door. A familiar sound of rustling paper could be heard beyond the ringing in her ears. She blew her bangs out of her face along with some grass, and accepted the help of a scaly claw hovering before her. Sorry, Twilight. Didn't see you there. Sorry, Twilight. Didn't see you there. Spike smiled sheepishly and rubbed the back of his neck. In his other hand, he held a stack of what the librarian could immediately identify as official documents. There were so many signatures. Oh, no harm done, she said, though the taste of sod lingered in her mouth. Where are you heading off to with those? She eyed the papers in his hands. Spike puffed out his chest proudly. I'm heading to the clinic. These are my volunteer forms. He held them out to her and flicked through the various papers. Shot records, personal profile, qualifications, criminal records. Ah, crap. Shot records, personal profile, qualifications, criminal records. You know, all that stuff. Twilight tilted her head sideways as a feeling of confusion caused her upper lip to shift upwards and her left eye to squint. What in Equestria got that idea into your head? Should I list the books you shoved down my throat? Oh, would you stop with that? Some of those were important. The Egghead's Guide to Brain Surgery is not important. Who wants to receive an amateur lobotomy? Well, you obviously like them, or you wouldn't be going out volunteering. Without asking me, no less. The unicorn's motherly side was showing. I happen to be a quite Australic dragon, he said. Then he added with his rebellious side. Do I really need to ask your permission to help ponies? Their gaze locked in a battle of will and control. Twilight clenched her teeth. A bead of sweat ran down the dragon's neck. The tension in the air was greater than that of the rope securing the hot air balloon. Without warning, Twilight's frown softened into a smile. She approached him and brought him into a not-so-gentle hug. I'm so proud of you. Such a noble dragon, offering his hand in the field of medicine. Twilight, he groaned, blushing. My little anesthetic. Come on, save it. I'm hugging you, and that's that. He endured the embrace for a few more moments before breaking free and scruffing off into the town. He felt eyes all around him, despite the fact that there didn't seem to be any pony watching. Seemed was the key word. That kid's gonna run away and never come back, said a voice from one of the librarian's branches. What do you know, Dash? He's growing up so fast, and I've been with him almost as long as I can remember. The voice mimicked a buzzer on some rigged game show. Wrong answer. Don't sweat it, though, Twi. You're such a good kid, so I'll give you another shot. Twilight turned from the direction in which Spike ran off. And just what is that supposed to mean? And just what is that supposed to mean, Rainbow Dat? She looked at the source of the voice and stopped. Whoops, I didn't recognize the voice. Sorry, Blitz. The stallion folded his forelegs. Really, though, do I sound that much like her? Well, now that I'm paying attention, not so much. But you could probably pass for her if you tried. Speaking of, where is she now? He jumped down from his perch to the ground with a stomp, for no other reason than to look cool. She went off to get some clouds for today's weather. He took a look at the sky. Don't know why. Seems like a great day to me. The unicorn glared at him. She's getting them because today was supposed to be partially cloudy. What we have is not cloudy. You sure? There's one right over there. Do you pay attention to anything? He considered the question for a moment. Sure, he answered honestly. Heck, I like to pay attention to plenty of things. I don't suppose your job is one of them? Blitz shook his head in near disgust. They call it a job for a reason, you know. Twilight rolled her eyes. Because you have to do it? Because it's boring. My point still stands. You have to do it at some point. Now, are you going to fill the skies or not? Oh, sure. Just as soon as... He trailed off, staring past the unicorn into the sky, presumably at the only cloud in the whole town. As soon as what? Blitz turned his head back towards Twilight, though his eyes quickly resumed wandering past her. As soon as Dash gets back with the... His face contorted in an effort to keep him from grinning. Yes, they're very funny, she said, running her hoof across her forehead. Some ponies even see little bunnies in them. Most ponies also don't forget what they're called. Now go on. As soon as Dash gets back with the what? I'll give you a hint. It starts with C. It rhymes with louds. The word was said several times, not even a minute ago. With this frustrated The word was said several times, not even a minute ago, and this frustrated Twilight to no end. How was it that a Pegasus could possibly forget the name? Ridiculous. She could stand it when a neighborhood foal couldn't name the 4 fundamental forces, but this was absurd. She was just about ready to let loose with some scathing wit involving his palpable lack of intelligence when a shriek from above her shattered that particular course of action while sending her stumbling forward. Clouds! Shouted the voice as Twilight felt herself being engulfed by 3 cubic meters of condensed water vapor. It thankfully kept her face from yet another harsh meeting with the dirt, so it deserved some credit. However, it did not stop her from aggressively despising the cloud. It did not stop her from aggressively dispersing the cloud with hooves and magic alike. It had all gone away quickly enough, but her panic hardly cared that the threat was gone. She was left in a clear, cool air, flailing about like she was dancing, waving her hooves in the air like she just didn't care, as it were. And she didn't. She truly did not care. What she did come to care about was the chorus of laughter clearly directed at her coming from the 2 Pegasi she had just noticed before her. They were, actually falling over each other in amusement at the presentation of Twilight versus the Cloud. You look so ridiculous, said Blitz, who was clutching his stomach from the pain of laughing too hard. Rainbow Dash had appeared beside him, assuming a similar position while leaning against his shoulder. That was better than your show at your birthday party that one time. While they regained their breaths, Twilight cast her scowl in their direction. She would have been much angrier with them had she not noticed that the sky had traded out its absolute clarity for some modest cloud cover. The order was restored, and no pony was acting too stupid. With things like OCD out of the way, she shook her head and felt a grin coming along. I guess I do look silly, huh? She told herself. All right. You got me. No need to laugh yourselves to death over it. Pinky might get upset with you. Why would I be upset? Asked Pinky from right next to her. A signal was sent to Twilight's brain, instructing her to panic at the unexpected visitor. The particular department was under heavy load since the beginning of her life, so she had learned not to trust every signal. A brain cell sat in a clustered desk with a red stamped mark, Void. It slipped a few worthy causes to the higher ups every once in a while, but everything that remotely resembled a pink pony received a swift and aggressive stamping. Never mind, I wasn't thinking. You're always thinking, silly, Pinky said with a pat on the unicorn's head. She then turned her attention to the pile of Pegasus that was just beginning to stop laughing. Indeed, the situation deserved her attention. Hey, Hey, Dashy! Hey, Blitzy! Have fun in the mountains? Blitz shared a look with Dash, who was partially on top of him in his forelegs. Considerations passed wordless between them as a verdict was quickly reached. Oh yeah, Dash said with a grin. Tons, finished Blitz. Pinky pressed her face well within the Pegasi's personal space with wide eyes. Really? Tons? She nodded, about to burst into. They nodded, about to burst into laughter again at both her obliviousness towards the innuendo and the aura about her that simply made any little act amusing. Tons, they said again. Tons? Tons. Tons? Tons. Before Pinky could ask again, she was yanked backwards by a purple bubble on her tail. Meanwhile, Dash and Blitz were raising to a standing position and cleaning off any dust that may have picked up in their frenzy by the same purple force that lifted them. Twilight cleaned her throat to get their attention, if she hadn't already, by magically moving them. They said tons, Pinky. Several times. Now I think we best drop the subject before ponies start to stare. But no ponies around, the Earth Pony replied, confused. That's what I thought right before you appeared literally out of nowhere. But I do that all the time. Irrelevant. She gave every pony one final magical pat to emphasize her point. And meanwhile, you should be heading over to the Cloudaceum right about now. Dash shrugged. Nah, it's kinda early. She nudged the stallion next to her. Besides, this guy won't stop whining about how hungry he is. Hey, I said it like once, he interjected. Dash ignored him. He was just about ready to start eating the grass on the way over here. Shut up. I think he even went in for a dive when I wasn't looking. Dash! Had to spit out a worm a mile in the air. He had to spit out a worm a mile in the air. You're impossible, he concluded, annoyed. But that didn't stop him from reaching a wing out over her back. Pinky raised her hoof like when she was in class. Twilight, the natural-born teacher, gestured to allow her to speak. If you're hungry, I could make you something. I still have snacks for tonight anyway. Blitz's mouth watered at the suggestion, but sense took over for once. I really don't think sweets would be good performance fuel. Sorry. Oh, but they are. They really are. Just look at me. I eat them all the time, and I'm not tired. But we're not Pinkies, Dash said. The Earth Pony frowned with determination. Okay, fine. I'll let you in on a little secret. It's my secret, though, so it's okay to tell you. She drew them in a huddle and checked both her sides for eavesdroppers. She inhaled and began speaking before turning her head 180 degrees towards Twilight to see if she was listening. The unicorn just stood there with a tired expression and raised eyebrows. Okay, so if you eat too many sweets, you get sick, right? The Pegasi nodded, with matching looks of confusion and doubt. That's true, only if you eat too many. But if you eat too many sweets, you feel even better. Better than any health diet can make you feel. It's like having a whole bunch of little hamsters in your brain running on a wheel that makes you feel super awake. It really works. I pinky promise. Dash was conflicted. This was one of the silliest, most illogical things Pinky had ever said. However, Dash could not remember the last time anything upheld by the Pinky promise failed. Blitz wore a similar expression. So you're saying... Blitz began before a pink poof was shoved into his mouth, followed by a stern shush. He drew back his head with his tongue still out and cringing that the two... He drew back his head with his tongue still out and cringed at the two pink hairs that remained on it. He wiped them off his hoof, gave another look of disgust to his hoof, then wiped his hoof on the ground. Resisting the urge to laugh, Dash picked up where she was sure her clone had left off. So you're saying that we could have as much stamina as you if we were to go to Sugar Cube Corner and eat a bunch of desserts before we head over to Cloudsdale? Of course not, the Earth Pony replied cheerfully. You would probably get unimaginably sick and throw up over and over. Blitz wiped his mouth with his cleaner hoof. But you just said that too many sweets would. Do you know how much too many sweets is? A lot, Dash asked with uncertainty. A lot, Pinky agreed. You would have to have started ages ago. It's not just something you can get up and do. It's a lifestyle. Blitz was struggling to keep his composure. So, what was the point of telling us all of that? To distract you while I picked up this pizza. What? Said both Pegasi in confusion. Lo and behold, on Pinky's back sat a generic pizza box, complete with a stereotypical mustached stallion in front of a dilapidated stone coliseum. He was winking and everything. All parties involved were certain that it had not been there a moment ago. Dash gave a tired expression and trotted over to a box. There was a smell of brick oven deliciousness engulfed her. Blitz cautiously followed. Do I ever get to know how she does this? Asked the stallion. Dash shook her head. No, you just get tired of asking after a while. So, Pinky, what have we got on this thing? Her pink tail slithered under the box like it was just another appendage and lifted it up to her side. I didn't have much time, so I could only get a plain one. Whole grain crust, tomato sauce, cheese, garlic. What kind of cheese? The old pony brought her hoof to her chin and scratched it, mentally cursing herself for forgetting her emergency beard. I never really asked what kind of cheese they use on this, she giggled. Cheese on these. Maybe Twilight knows. Hey, Twilight, do you know what kind of cheese they usually put on pizza? The unicorn had turned her attention to the rather hazardous mass of clouds Dash had left floating over her balloon, taking off small bits and seeing how the wind affected them at different altitudes. A chef could use any number of cheeses on a pizza, Pinky. She turned towards the group and drew breath to continue, but had to process Pinky's pizza beforehand. I turn away for 1 second and you manage to run off to the other side of Equestria and get a pizza? Okay, I'll have to worry about that later. The most common cheese used on a pizza is it provolone? Pinky interjected. No, it's brie? No, cheddar? No. The Pegasi started to grin at the spectacle, the sense of opportunity for someone's serious shenanigans. Swiss? Asked Blitz. Nah, it's gotta be marscaping. If you don't want to hear it, that's fine by me, grumbled Twilight. Her pout betrayed that she was a little upset about being shut up. Pinky just went on with the bit, ignoring her. You don't use marscaping cheese in pizza, Dashy. That would be weird. Dash shrugged with her wings. Well, I'm all out of ideas. Blitz nodded in agreement and lifted the lid of the box, which remained suspended by a pink poofy tail. I guess we'll never know. He licked his lips at the sight of the oozing cheese and reached in with his mouth and tried to rip out a slice. Whoever it is in charge of cutting those things should be put on trial. They never cut enough. Son of a... Blitz spat out a muffled curse through his clenched teeth and his lunch. The second slice clung to the A second slice clung to the mouth. Crap. A second slice clung to the one in his mouth, despite appearing to be perforated. Every damn time. How would you know, dude? This is your first pizza. Dash walked over and set about tearing the other piece away. I can't even tell anymore. She pulled her head back and sloppily ripped off the lingering slice. However, the cheese remained attached to the tip, creating a long strand between them. They shared a glance and really considered how to proceed. Their smiles became devious as they nonchalantly set about eating their slices from the opposing ends. Twilight knew a cliché when she saw one. In addition, this specific event had been worrying her for days. She frantically conjured a pair of scissors and snipped the cheese between them, just as they began to lean towards each other. Both recoiled in surprise. Pinky pouted. "Aw, so close, too. Why don't you two finish your lunches and head over to Cloudsdale before it gets late? I'm sure there are all sorts of things to get set up before everything starts." Twilight set about cutting definitive gaps in the remaining slices before she dispersed her scissors. Dash swallowed and almost answered, but all that escaped her mouth was a deep burp. "Phew, excuse me. It's not for a while, you know. We would look lame if we showed up too early. There's no pony you need to talk to before the show starts? I mean, I guess we could talk to the other contestants. I usually have no idea who else is in these things other than..." Dash trailed off with his eyes widened. Blitz put a concerned hoof on her shoulder. "Who else? Are you all right?" She immediately pounced on him, pinning him to the ground by his shoulders. "Dude, I totally forgot." Forgot what? Blitz asked, found himself unable to complain about her tackling him. Only good things had happened in this positions. "The flyer! It said the Wonderbolt, Spitfire, and Sword." Look. His eyes grew wide as well. "Holy crap! I know! We should go. Like, right now." Dash flew off of him into the sky. Blitz followed her for a second, but doubled back to pick up the pizza box. "Thanks, Pinky. See you, Twi." "Good luck tonight," Pinky shouted back. He may have been well out of range, though. Twilight just waved. When they became colorful dots in the distance, the unicorn sighed and sagged forward. Pinky approached her. "What's wrong, Twilight? Did you want some pizza too?" "No. I'm just afraid I won't be able to keep them from each other. The attraction seems to keep influencing them. You saw. They almost kissed or something. I just don't want to be back there. Crap. I just don't want it to back them into a corner and force them into anything." Pinky just giggled. "Don't worry about it, Twilight. It'll be alright." "You really think so?" "Sure. I mean, they probably kissed a whole bunch of times already." "What?" Well, they definitely went further than that, but I think it's safe to assume that there was some kissing beforehand. Maybe even during. I guess it depends on how they were doing it. She's pretty flexible, though, right?" She went on with the colorful description. For some reason, Twilight had been in trouble dismissing this one as more Pinkie Pie silliness. She didn't sound like she was just joking. And there were a few times when she wasn't joking. These were genuine questions based off the assumptions they had. Twilight shook her head violently at the thought, fighting off her blush. There was no way they went that far already. It had only been 4 days. No pony worked that quickly. Well, none of her friends, anyway. No, she must be wrong. However unlikely that was, it had to be the case. "I'll see you later, Pinky. I gotta go. Look at the cloud walking spell one more time. Yeah," the unicorn said, stiffly walking to the door. Pinky tilted her head. Some pony was upset. Or maybe she was tired. Hungry? Oh well. If Twilight had work, she probably didn't want to be disturbed by an aggressive cheering up. It would wait until later. "Okay, I'll go make us some more snacks for the ride. All right, bye. She didn't hear her. In fact, the Earth pony was nowhere to be seen, in the distance or otherwise, but Twilight couldn't spare the energy to think about it. They couldn't have done that already, she thought. If they did, it's already too late. And that is the end of chapter 7. Sorry for messing up so many times. And let me know if the comment section if my voice sounded kind of weird at the beginning. Because while I was doing this, something just felt off about my voice. I don't know what. Alright, until next time, bye.